I think that kind of shows how seriously one takes the interview process. But I sometimes pull the leg also. But I've seen many people bomb on this one. This is one question I know 99% of the times either they will they'll be confused in terms of what's the right answer, or they'll just plain and simple say that I'm sorry, I don't know. The sense of giving employment to people, I think that was one sense which also connected with me. This was in Noida when one of the candidates. He was sitting across the table in front of me, and suddenly a scorpion popped out. And I was like, what is this? And he said, no, this is my pet. And it started crawling up like that. And I like, what is that? He said, oh, he shoved it inside his pocket and he said, this is my pet, so don't mind it. I was stunned from that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Weekday Show. I'm your host, Amit Singh, founder and CEO of Weekday, a hiring marketplace where job seekers can 8x their chances of finding their perfect job, and recruiters can supercharge their productivity by accessing the largest database of talent in the country. We have 80% of white-collar workforce of India on our platform. Check out Weekday at weekday.works. Happy to present to you the Weekday Show, where recruitment leaders share actionable insights and answer the most common hiring FAQs, and explore the hiring process from both sides, and dissect real-life interview scenarios. Hello everyone, welcome to the Weekday Show. I'm your host, Amit Singh, founder and CEO of Weekday. Happy to present to you the Weekday Show, where recruitment leaders like Mathew share actionable insights and answer the most common hiring FAQs, and dissect real-life interview scenarios. Our guest for today is Mathew Gomes, who has more than 2 decades, in fact 25 years of experience in the HR field. He's currently the Senior Director of Talent Acquisition at Happiest Minds, which is one of the leading IT services companies. And earlier he worked at Wipro, where he was in fact the manager of our earlier guest, Harsha.
Yes, I was.
And Harsha highly recommended Mathew so that we speak to him. I highly recommend that you check out Harsha's episode as well. A lot of interesting insights there. Along with Wipro, he has also had his own startup as well. We'll probably talk about it in due course. Welcome, Mathew. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amit. Pleasure to be here in front of all of you. Yeah.
Same here. So, Mathew, we'll basically do 3 sections. The first one will be rapid fire. Second one, where we'll deep dive more into your journey and advice that you have for job seekers as well as recruiters. And the third will be hire or pass, where we'll give you real life interview scenarios and what would a recruiter think in those scenarios is what we'll answer there.
Sounds
so
good.
Let's start with the rapid fire questions.
Please, I'm ready.
All right. So Mathew, what's the most creative way a candidate has ever tried to stand out from the crowd?
Oh, well, the most creative way, I think, was this was in Noida when one of the candidates, he was sitting across the table in front of me, and suddenly a scorpion popped out. And I was like, what is this? And he said, no, this is my pet. I totally got zapped that how can a candidate walk in? But I don't know it is creative or not, but it was scary. But I remember that. I remember that a lot. Yeah.
But why would he bring a scorpion?
It was inside his pocket. So he said, this is my pet. And it started crawling up like that. And I like, what is that? He said, oh, he shoved it inside his pocket and he said, this is my pet, so don't mind it. I was stunned from that time on.
Okay.
It's not creative, but very scary. I remember that.
So one pro tip for everyone, please get a pet sitter if you have pets.
Not a scorpion, at least. Not a scorpion.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. The next one. What's the most useless skill listed on a resume that you have seen?
I think I have seen resumes where they have written about their father's occupation, their father's skills. When a candidate is coming to showcase themselves, is written doctor, PhD. Then I went down to see, oh, this is about his father. So I don't think your parents or your father's skills are anyway relevant to the when you're coming for a job application. So I think. That's not relevant. I wouldn't call it useless, but definitely not relevant.
Yeah. Like when you've been in the industry for so long, you see all kinds of things.
Yes. I mean, this was an old school of, presenting resumes. So today you don't see it, but, with the last so many years that I've been in recruitment, I have seen these kind of resumes where they will talk more about the family history and all of it. It doesn't really matter to us in today's hiring scenarios.
All right. So a follow-up to that, like what interview question do you find the most overrated and what would you ask instead?
So I think traditionally when we take interviews of candidates, most often we ask, tell me about your strength and weakness. Well, I feel that if 100 candidates have to come for interviews, 99 of them will prepare for this question, and it really is more curated and more prepared than impromptu, and really doesn't talk about their real strength and weakness. I typically try to avoid that question, strength and weakness. I'm sure everybody has some strength and everybody has some weakness. I don't think most of the people will really try to tell their actual weaknesses, right?
Yeah, like
So
I work too hard.
I work too hard, or I like to sleep in the afternoons. So, those kind of things. So I typically ask that this is the job. What do you think? How can you make it better? That's more important, right? If you have understood that this is the kind of job that I have to do, you tell me how you can make an impact in this job. So typically I ask, this is the job role and what's the kind of impact you can make to the role? How can you make it better? That actually makes it a little more creative, little more interesting for people to talk about how they can make this role more suitable for them, and also the organization will benefit out of this, his contribution to that role. So that's what I
Agree. Yeah. All right. The next one. What's the biggest interview red flag that you've encountered?
Interview red flag I have seen during COVID. Lot of different kinds of candidates coming for interviews, but typically I have seen some candidates, I don't know what was the motivation or the demotivation, they just come for an interview with a shirt button opened and hair disheveled. I mean, come on, you're coming for an interview, at least become presentable. So I think that kind of shows how seriously one takes the interview process. So I would say that that's a definite red flag. When you are coming and presenting, try to be your best version of yourself, right? So typically people should take care of that. I mean, that's a red flag for me, I think so.
Yeah. Agreed. Like while you want to be confident, but you don't.
Yeah.
You want to show that actually you do care about.
Yeah,
getting the
confidence
job,
is one thing.
caring about
Confidence
the-
is good. You need to be confident, but preparation, right? This is something which will make it. This decision is going to impact your life, your career. Take at least 15 minutes to groom yourself. Be the best version of yourself in every form. And since it's a video interview, obviously, it's also important to look presentable. So take that time out. I think that's important.
Yeah. All right. The next one. Have you ever seen a very strong candidate bomb like a simple question? And like what question is that generally that people bomb?
Oh yeah, this one I should tell you. So many times candidates, because typically I do HR interviews towards the end, right? So people have finished the technical rounds of interview, and finally they'll come, and everybody comes thinking that HR rounds means I will get to know my salary, right? So I typically ask, so what's your last salary? So they will give a figure. Then I will tell them that, okay, so what are you expecting? So they might say, oh, I'm expecting, suppose they say that my last salary was X, and they say my expected salary is Y. It's a simple thing. Suppose it is 20 lakhs and somebody is asking 30 lakhs. I say, okay, so what's the percentage hike you're asking? The moment I ask this, it's a simple math. So 10 out of 20 is a 50% hike you're asking, right? I have seen many candidates. Oh, yeah, it's nearly this percentage. I think it is that. So I think many good candidates bomb at this part. They will tell what is my current salary. They will say what I want. I ask them, so what's the percentage hike? That's it. they go down over there. So I sometimes take it a little bit of a fun just to see, or people prepare. Okay, I want 25% hike or 30% hike. So I say, okay, what's the current? They'll say some amount. I'll say, what is the new figure? There also that percentage calculation many times. And especially in technical interviews, I think they have to be a little more prepared for this part. But I sometimes pull the leg also. But I've seen many people bomb on this one.
I think what people get confused is, like, for example, like 20 to
Hike
30,
percentage.
do you take 50% of 30 or
Yeah.
take 50% of
Or
20?
Yeah, that also is somewhere many people. It's like increase by original class 8 maths, but it's good fun to see that question. And people, they feel so embarrassed when they are not able to say this part. Then I say, okay, I will do it for you. This is it. Is that right? Yes, that's right. So
Yeah, that's where you catch them off guard. No.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to catch them off guard. They've come this far, but this is one question I know 99% of the times either they will, they'll be confused in terms of what's the right answer, or they'll just plain and simple say that I'm sorry, I don't know. I imagine you
very
know.
interesting. I've never thought of it.
I do this. I actually ask because I do HR interviews, right? So that's the time when people want to discuss about salary. So it gives me a reason to ask them this particular point. So this is it. Yeah.
All right, great, Matthew. This was great. Let's move on to the second section, which
Sure.
is the deep dive.
Okay.
So, Matthew, let's talk about like how you got into HR, like post college. What led you into this field? Was it a conscious thought? Was it something that you stumbled on?
Yeah. So I completed my studies in Delhi, and I'm basically a marketing graduate. I'm not an HR graduate, marketing and systems graduate.
Okay.
So my first 3-4 years, I was in Noida. I was running a training center. I was heading a training center, and during during the 2002 dot-com bust, training went down. IT training went down, and that's when I thought I should look for a different kind of a role, and that's when I had come to Bangalore before, and I just like the vibe of place, so I just drove down. I took my car and drove down to Bangalore. Just wanted to start from a clean sheet.
From where?
From Delhi to Bangalore by road.
Okay.
This was in 2002. So I drove down. I had some high level thoughts that but more than that, I wanted to take it as an adventure and see how things will go. So when I came to Bangalore, I was kind of looking out for jobs, and that's when I stumbled upon one of the very good recruitment agencies in Korubangla. That time it was People One Consulting, which later got acquired by Adeco. So I thought they are sending me to some customers or client's place to go for interview, but they said, no, we want to hire you for our own company. I said, what should I do? They said, it's recruitment. I was new to the field, but I said, let's go for it, because I also didn't have that much of time and money. So I said, let's go for it, and that actually began my recruitment journey.
But at that time, were you looking at other
No,
sectors as well, or was it only HR?
Anything which had to do with numbers, because I was and technology. So when they said that this is recruitment and you have to hire engineers, I felt the industry was technology, because I came from an IT training background.
Yeah.
So it was not a direct fit, but it was related to the IT training. I said that sounds interesting, and gradually I started liking recruitment. If you're doing high volume recruitment, there's always this challenge of meeting your numbers.
Yeah.
If you're doing niche hiring, then there's always the challenge of deep diving into technology, and you have to evangelize that technology for somebody to also feel that this is the place I want to, this is the company I want to work for. So all of these things kind of connected with me, and that's how I stuck on to recruitment. And since then I've been in Bangalore the last 20 years. I grew through hard work, and thankfully the industry also grew along with this. So there was a lot of opportunity to hire people across India. And I did a long stint with Wipro, like you mentioned in the first part, and that was good because Wipro, I really got to hire almost 8,000-10,000 people every year, and that scale was very big. I had a 50-member team. We used to do drives in recruitment across the country. So it combined my other passion of travel and recruitment. So I think that also helped. And the sense of giving employment to people, I think that was one sense which also connected with me. What you are doing is essentially, the joy of people's face when they take the offer letter. Some of them go back and tell their wives, husbands, and families that. The thrill of it. One part is achieving the numbers and growing the talent pool. The other part is you're doing a good service, like giving employment to someone. So all of these things in the last 20 years kind of connected with me, and that's how I landed up today leading the function with a very good set of team members with me.
But over the course of your career, like how many interviews would you have taken?
I lost count. I'll tell you, this was in Pune, and for Wipro there was a drive, what we call a recruitment drive. We were doing it in one of the 5-star hotels. It was a new division, so we had to speeden up the entire process. I took 40 interviews in a single day. This was HR interviews, and by the time it got over, we just hit the restaurant. But yes, I think I just lost count of the number of interviews. Nowadays, I don't do so many interviews, but in the last 20 years, when we do the recruitment drives, Amit, it's really fun because you have to close everything in a single day. And so I keep telling my fraternity, any one of you have done 40 interviews in a single day? If you haven't, you should.
But doesn't that get monotonous a few times?
If you like the job somewhere, I like this, asking questions like what's the percentage hike you want. Those are small perks in the life. But I think there is a mission to accomplish, in the sense there's always the demand for talent pool, right? You know it, you know about it. And there's always this fight for talent. So if you hire those numbers, your business does well, your company does well. I think there's no time for monotony or monotonous. I think it's always been a good rush, actually. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and actually, like, it is a problem that you have to solve, right? Like, it's like there's a problem, you have to solve it, and like and it always is different new challenges.
Yes, I mean it's like sales. So when you're doing high volume recruitment, so there's that chase the number, so that keeps many people who connect with this function going. So I think that's interesting. Yeah.
So Mathew, let's now talk about a little about HR. Like, for example, most people who would be watching this would probably have not interacted as much to and don't have any exposure to the HR field.
Okay.
Apart from like maybe like the HR round interviews, etc., or like the screening calls, etc. So what all happens behind the scenes? What are the different areas or sectors within HR that exist? So when someone, let's say when someone applies on a job, what happens behind the scenes? Like, what is happening after I've applied?
Oh yeah, actually, the candidates get to see the first and the last part of it, that there is a job and I got an offer.
Yeah.
But there is so much of there's a lot behind it. So the entire function, you can call it as a people supply chain. So what comes out eventually, that okay, let's go ahead and hire, let's say 20 people or even 200 people. Most companies would like to reduce that, given that you have a talent pool inside your organization. So the flow is, whenever there is a hiring need, either it is a business request or sometimes there is attrition, so you want to backfill that attrition. These are the two reasons why mostly a new job gets created.
Okay.
And whenever these two kinds of jobs get created, firstly, I think every organization wants to ensure that we don't go outside, because there's a cost of hiring from outside. So there is an entire concept of bench, where there is a workforce which is internally readily available for deployment. So many people don't know about this entire concept of how workforce management, how people get down from projects, they sit in between before they get deployed. I mean, people in the industry, they know about it, but for general folks, they don't know this people supply chain that works behind. And finally, if there are no people internally available for that duration or for that cost, then we also look at campus. I mean, we also look at freshers, every year. So they are a new lot. We look at all options internally and low cost externally, and only then a hiring mandate is given that go outside. Okay. So this process, many people feel that, okay, so there's a job, let me just go apply. I think it's right from their point of view, but there's a lot of internal thought, check, balance, calculations that go inside before any requirement is going outside and the recruitment team starts hiring from outside. So that part, I think. And you mentioned about HR functions connected to this workforce management piece. A lot of things, because if a new technology is getting hired, you have to understand what kind of salary you want to give. So we do a lot of benchmarking against those skills in the market, because nobody wants to pay more and nobody wants to pay less also.
And that's a different skill set.
And
there's
that
like
is
a
a
separate set of people who do that.
That is a function within HR which is called Comp and Ben, and industry benchmarking within compensation and benefits. So that's a separate separate area of HR where you need specialists doing this kind of work. And but the way it gets connected to talent acquisition is, we every year we want to see every company whether they are at par with what the industry is paying, at par with the cost of living. So that entire, after all of those things get finalized, then you come up with, okay, for this particular role, I'm going to hire at this cost. All of these things, it happens at the back end, and people do not outside are aware of unless you are from the industry. So likewise, I think the other part is training and skill development, and that is also a part of HR. Where typically when you do a lot of campus hiring, right, they are freshers, and eventually they have to be productive for the company. So this training function within HR is a full-fledged function in itself. Sometimes you hire the freshers who you bring from the college campuses. Sometimes there is a technology which is very new. People are not aware of it. So there must be a -1 kind of a skill which is available, but that top-up skill is trained internally. So there's a lot of things, Amit. I mean, this entire training function which connects back to recruitment, this entire comp and ben function which connects back to recruitment, all of these things happen at the back end, and then finally the recruitment happens outside where the candidates come.
And talking about just the talent acquisition piece, like what happens within that? Like, for example, if I've applied to a job, who will first look at it? Will the first system look at it?
Yeah, got it. So typically the entire talent acquisition function, you can break it down into 3-4 pieces. Mm-hmm. One is the sourcing. You start with sourcing. Okay. Even before you start the sourcing, what you do is you do a market mapping. So sometimes the demand is like, okay, I need Java full stack guys, 500 of them. But if your office is in, let's say, Bhubaneswar, I'm not sure whether Bhubaneswar will be able to have that many skilled resources in that particular region. So there is a market mapping that we do, and then we start the function of sourcing. So sourcing itself is a specialized function, Amit, where you have to decide, should I go to LinkedIn, should I go to a job portal, do I do employer referrals, do I seek external partners to. So once all of that entire sourcing gets executed, then there is a process of selection. Mm-hmm. Selection is also a separate piece where you might want to go for an online test, you might want to call them for a written test, or you might not want to do all of this. You just do an interview, and in the interviews also there are different kinds of interviews: a one-on-one interview, panel, virtual, lot of things. Mm-hmm. After you do the selection, then there is that HR piece where you kind of fit a candidate with your organization cost and competencies and things like that. Then there's a lot of background verification. The process after selection is called as onboarding, offer and onboarding. But before that offer and onboarding, you have to do a lot of every candidate that is onboarded in any company. They go through a rigorous background verification process. So sometimes you go to the extent of looking at his history, whether he has been a drug addict, there is any criminal records, his family background. A lot of things happen. So that today background verification has become a specialized function. So and post the background verification clearance, then you start the process of onboarding. So you can say sourcing, selection, background verification, and then onboarding. So the day the candidate joins, so much has already happened. So this is the talent acquisition function in a nutshell.
Yeah. And just for our viewers to sort of get an idea of like how many people they are competing with for a particular job, let's say for the sourcing function, like in order for one job to be closed, how many people would need to be sourced? How many people would then get eliminated at subsequent steps?
It depends on the skill. Let's say some skills, the pool is very less, then the lucky few are there. You are looking at let's say a cloud architect. Cloud architect is, everybody wants them, but there are very few in the market, right? And then within that, you might want somebody who's certified with, let's say, Google Cloud or Azure and things like that. So I think it depends on the skill, but by and large, there are a lot of people with varying level of competencies. So when an applicant is so suppose our threshold is I want a guy who's 7 out of 10. But I have applicants who's 0 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 9 out of 10, or even 10 out of 10. So the entire process of screening them. And I think typically in a generic skill, we look at least 20 profiles to onboard hire one person.
Okay.
Yeah, 18 to 20 people. Because, like I said, the problem in this, especially in the IT industry, is not the pool; it's the skilled pool. So while there's huge amount of talent pool, we are exporting the highest numbers across the world. That is true, but there are also a lot of unskilled or semi-skilled pool. So when a job is there and depends on the companies, everybody applies. You have
Yeah.
to actually remove the ones. Typically, out of every 15 or 20 candidates, one will finally join. There is another side to it also. The top of the pyramid guys, the guys who are very good, they will be sitting with multiple offers. So the
Yeah.
guy you actually offered might not even join you after all the exercise that you have done, because he would have a parallel offer from a different company.
But in those scenarios, would you roll out
You
more
can't
offers to just
yes, we
adjust for
do
that?
that. So sometimes if the business requires that very urgently, what we do is we release an extra offer. And if that skill is something we can accommodate in the future, we take that call. We
And
have to do it.
if all the
If
people end up
all,
joining,
no, I wouldn't say all, but one. So we have this ratio of 1:1.5 or 1:2. Typically 1:1.5. So let's say if there are two positions, three offers can be made. There is a industry understanding of decline, right? So typically 60% join, or in some cases 70% join. But in the IT industry, 25 to 30% decline ratio is buffered in. So
okay.
if you need five people, you have to make around seven offers, eight offers. We
But do you think that is right? Because
It's
somebody has
necessary.
signed an offer, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we don't have at least in India, we don't have such a tight rules and regulations where we go back and find out why you didn't join. So yeah, it's a offer letter is a legal document, but I think it's an accepted norm,
Okay.
unless. There are cases I don't want to quote where people have gone back and taken it legal that you have not joined. But those might be very few where they're very senior profiles, and there were some documents they would have signed at the beginning with the partners who has sourced these profiles in those cases. But I think people have taken it that in the IT industry at
Yeah.
least there will be a decline ratio, and there's no point in chasing those 30 who didn't join.
Yeah.
They can give reasons like I got a better offer. It's an open market, right? And skill is a commodity. I mean, if you whoever pays well for a better quality gets to hire that person. It's an open market.
But for example, like in a lot of other markets where there's like in high stress societies, there is, so you give people more time to accept or reject an offer, but once you have signed it,
You can't go back
like
on
you
it.
can't, generally people don't go back. Like for example, in other markets.
It also, yes, I think, yes, in other markets outside of
Yeah.
India, it is a little more. I think the volumes are not as much that we do in India. I mean, I'm talking of the IT industry purely. My understanding is in the IT industry space, the churn of selection offer, that volume churn is maximum in India.
Okay,
I
that's
mean,
why.
we are the
Yeah.
largest market from that point of view. So if the numbers were smaller, I think
Yeah.
it would be a little more streamlined, and people would honor those agreements. But it has become an accepted part of our industry right now. So we just live with that. We factor in that percentage who
Okay.
will not join, and we make that. And it's
And
a good problem to have if they join.
yeah.
The problem is the other way around. They don't join. If they
Even
join,
even
there
lesser
is
lesser people end up joining than
lesser people end up joining. If they all join, there is an appetite to accommodate all of them. There is an appetite, so
Yeah.
that shouldn't be
Okay.
a problem. Yeah.
But has it ever happened to you that
Never happened. It has never happened where we overhired. I mean, it's typically no, it doesn't happen like that because some generic skills, most companies are hiring, and I have not seen so far where I can go back and tell my business, you wanted two, I gave you four. Never happened so far.
Are you looking for a job? You can 8x your chances of getting one by using Weekday. How 8x? By doubling the chances on three fronts: referrals, customizing your resume, and applying to double the jobs. Weekday can help you on all three fronts. Did you know that you can double your chances of getting a job by asking referrals? You can do that via Weekday by just one click, where people can give referrals to the existing companies via the Weekday platform. The second one is customizing your resume for every role. Did you know that 60% of the applicants of a job are never seen by a human recruiter? You can double your chances by customizing your resume based on every job posted. Well, it's not feasible to do that. You can do that via AI. So, Weekday's Chrome extension allows you to customize your resume for any job. The third front is applying to double the jobs. Imagine if there was an easy apply on every careers job posted everywhere. What we allow via front-end automations is that you can just click once and no need to fill multiple long forms on every careers page. Give that information to us once and utilize it everywhere else. All right, and talking about sourcing,
Yeah.
what are the different tools, technologies that
Okay.
a recruiter uses while sourcing?
Yeah, so today sourcing has become a very specialized function. Businesses have grown, especially small startups. They pick up a small niche. I won't take names of companies, but there are products, platforms. So let's take employee referrals. Today, I don't have to curate that entire program internally to execute a referral program where I think of a program, run it with my employees. There is an application. There are platforms where you just put your program what you need, and somebody outside will package that entire thing and give you a curated list of 20 profiles. We just have to hire them. Then today assessments is another area where you have to, like you said, we have to remove those 9 out of 10 candidates. So there are platforms which conduct coding tests. They gamify the entire question base, so that that part of the function is completely outsourced. So and that actually takes away a lot of pain for the hiring manager, for the hiring team, given that sometimes coding tests are quite popular nowadays. Hackathons are quite popular. There are platforms where there's a continuous churn of candidates, because these platforms, they continuously organize hackathons. So I just go and say I want Python, or I want Java, I want AWS, and I will get that list of people who would have constantly taken those exams and a ready talent pool for me. So and not everybody uses those tools and technologies. It makes our life easier. It refines the candidates. It kind of authenticates the process. So there's a lot of benefits in using these tools. And now, of course, ChatGPT and AI has come into the picture. So sometimes I look at a body outside. I'm not sure if this is the guy talking or someone else is talking. But I don't think we have reached that level yet, a cloning kind of things. But that's a worry for every industry veteran or everybody in the industry. Will we reach that stage when the candidate is so good, but we later realize that somebody else was talking behind him? That is actually a threat. But so far, the way the AI is helping, I think we are using AI to if not to a very large extent, but definitely to many areas where we can match the right skill to the job description, and find the right talent for the right job. So all of these tools, technologies, including AI, is made our lives easier. But at the same time, we see some kind of risks. So today a resume, this is a very interesting thing. Today, when I go back and give 5 candidates to my hiring manager, they will like, oh, this resume is too good. I said, he's a good candidate. That's why his resume is good. No, this is false. I mean, there's a general notion that resumes are all manufactured now. And it so happened that they feel, okay, let's give him a chance. The guy is good. The resume looks good. Let's actually go ahead and call him. And I mean, their hunch is actually proven, because they interview the candidate and then they realize that he didn't know the basics. And it's a fact, because curating a very nice looking resume today, you just enter the prompt and the questions and the entire resume is ready. So while these tools and technologies are helpful, you have to be a little careful also how it gets misused by certain candidates.
But like the pace of development of these technologies, so like example the way sort of ChatGPT, and there is like almost every 2 months there is an update
Yes.
that comes around, and the speed at which what areas within recruitment do you think are going to stay with a human, and what areas do you think a machine would be able to do better or an AI will be able to do better?
If you ask this to Sam Altman, I think he'll say no need of recruiters. But I still feel that that entire. So it's the other way around. I mean, let's put the ball in the from a candidate's point of view. When I am an applicant to a particular company, I want to be convinced that so much of my time and effort and my connected entities like my family, my extended family, all of them will get impacted to this decision. So many candidates want to be convinced through the process, and that conviction of a process still they feel is with human touch. While they might want to write a coding test because they know that's required, but the moment it comes to an HR interview, their comfort level of asking questions or getting the conviction that my health benefits are taken care of, for example, right? If HR says that this is the policy, both your wife, kids, and parents are covered, there is an inherent satisfaction. And their conviction also. So I feel from a candidate's point of view, their need and all of us are candidates at some point in time, right?
Yeah.
So we might be doing whatever it is, but we all kind of want our careers to grow in different ways. So given that the mass is also a candidate, our expectations that we want technology to help us, but I think we also want that connect during the hiring process, at least one or two, where I want to be convinced that this decision is going to really help me in my career, and that's where they feel the human touch is required. And I think those are the areas where it will always be there. It's like a car, technology innovation like a car, right? I'm still going to work. It's just that I'm going faster. And nowadays, people are not going by cars also. They're walking to work. So, any technology innovation, I feel, will only help in executing the process better and faster. I don't think the entire hiring process will ever be replaced by a machine. But a lot of things like this entire process of document collection. It need not be a human intervention. You have 20, we have a checklist. These are the 20 documents you need. You just go and enter it into a chatbot, and the chatbot will tell you, scan your resume and update it. The chatbot has to be intelligent enough to say, this is your Aadhaar, this is your DL, this is your address proof. Tick, tick, tick. Once all the 100% of the documents are collected, it goes back to the recruiter. That here is a candidate who is completed. This doesn't need this particular function is today done by a recruiter, by a human being, and he or she is taking so much time in following up and somebody. So that can be replaced. So some parts of it definitely can be replaced, but not all parts.
And the thing is, like, for example, like hiring, like you talked about a candidate's perspective, from company's perspective also, it's like such a costly decision to hire someone.
Yeah, and wrong hire. I mean, both. So the entire process is there's a hiring cost attached, right? So that is definitely a big area. So they don't want to. I mean, if the thought is okay, I'll remove that entire team and use machine. I don't think there's a cost benefit analysis because the investment in technology is also there over there. And so I think companies are a little cautious. While what can be removed and outsourced by AI, they will go ahead and do. I gave examples like documentation collections and all of it. But still, the fact that HR interview is necessary to make the right decision, because a wrong hire is something which nobody wants to do. So if it needs for 2 rounds of evaluation by somebody senior in the company, so be it. I think people are a little sensitive to not making the wrong decision.
And so moving on to the other side, like from a candidate's perspective, when a recruiter is looking at a resume, what exactly are they looking at? Like because like first level screening, I'm assuming like the ATS or the software has already done. So like prima facie they match. So and assuming like candidate has also applied to a job that they were eligible for or could have qualified for. So what exactly is a recruiter looking for in a resume?
See, I think the once the tool has kind of screened the resume to say that it is good to go, the resume itself might not give the entire picture. So I think the work of a recruiter slightly gets limited purely if you have to look at a resume. Sometimes a few things like a notice period is
Yeah.
important, because some hiring decisions are based on time and speed, right? So that part they would want to know. Sometimes people mention references, not like about your parents or father, but definitely references. If there is a mention of a reference, casually people do call and find out what's their feedback. But apart from that, I think from that point on, the recruiter's role is more pure play. Looking at the resume, it's slightly limited, because
Okay.
and if it is a technical role, mostly in the IT industry, I don't think the recruiter is well versed to really understand what's written within the project. They do a keyword search, and
Yeah.
to sit along with the hiring manager, and they have a little healthy conversation. But purely if it is already screened in the first round by a tool or some automated software, the recruiter's work is slightly limited at that point in time, just to coordinate with the interviews, and and then take it forward with the hiring managers and the panels to do the interviews. From there
Okay.
they start. Yeah.
Okay. So if let's say someone had to create like a great resume,
Hmm.
what would they need to do? Like, what would they need to, like, for example, I've written what I've done,
Correct.
like, then that's what I've done. How can I improve my resume?
Yeah. No, I think typically people have one resume, right? And they hardly, and that resume, I can understand that, the experience won't change, but
Yeah.
you have to understand the company that you're applying for, and the hard part of your resume will not change so much, but also you have to be sensitive. If at all, you can check with the recruiter. Some recruiters prefer a detailed resume, like 10 pages, because the projects are very descriptive. I'm
Yeah.
talking purely from an IT industry.
Yeah.
Some recruiters prefer a very simple to the point resume, even a 2-pager resume. So if candidates can understand what is brevity in terms of the size of the resume, sometimes that makes a decision also for recruiters. See, it's too lengthy, recruiters will lose interest. Too
Yeah.
less, they might feel that it's not enough.
Yeah.
So that's a very important decision which they have to make. The other part is you can talk about your achievements, which might be in line to the company that you are applying for. And the most important thing I feel is how you are suited for that role. People write what they have done. They
Yeah.
don't talk about, this is the role, what can I do. That's a customization. That's
Yeah.
a customization which is required. I think people should, if I was reading somewhere that Google hires a lot of people without they don't really look at the resumes to that extent, because what is written is given. What more do you want? And it's not about one particular company. Lot and lot hiring managers today are wanting to understand that all of these guys have the same skills. What do you bring special to the table? Now, if the resume can bring out that, that's a winner. That's a winner. And you can highlight that part. It could be in terms of hobbies also, something interesting which will make it, interesting for the recruiter to read, and also for the hiring manager to see that, okay, here is a direct benefit I can find out from the resume.
What advice would you give to younger recruiters who are trying to sort of make it in that industry? What advice would you give to them to just get better at their job?
I think, recruitment is a very specialized function today. Earlier days by default, or but today, there are companies which are giving certifications, that okay, you are good in that part of recruitment, which is like sourcing or in negotiation or in market mapping. That function has become so extended that a newbie recruiter should find out within that entire function what is it that they inherently connect with. You can make your career within that, within that space itself. So while you say that I'm a recruiter, but be aware that there are different functions. Companies today have differentiated sourcing from the process of hiring. So, and there are careers only in sourcing. You can become an expert in sourcing. You can be a sourcing manager. You can head sourcing globally. So that function itself. So it's a super specialization within the recruitment function. And I think the other piece is technology. We think that okay, if you're going to be an IT recruiter, get well versed with what a GCP is different from an AWS. Many recruiters don't want to take the time to invest in that technology. But your conversation with the hiring manager will be more intelligent. You will be able to understand, your effort that you do and your output that you see will greatly be different. So spend little time in understanding the technology. You don't have to become an expert, but today all the means are available to understand what this does at a very brief level, so that you can hold very interesting conversations with both candidate and the hiring manager. So invest in learning of the technology if you are in IT recruitment, and understand the full recruitment function, and think which part of it you connect with better. I think that will make a very good career in recruitment for youngsters.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Mathew. Let's move on to our next section, which is the more interesting one,
Sure.
which is hire or pass.
Okay.
Which basically means that I'll give you certain scenarios, and whether it is a pass, which means a no, and like a hire, which basically means that it is a yes.
Okay.
All right. So the first, hire or pass, the entrepreneur, a candidate who has a history of entrepreneurship, has founded multiple startups. They have not been successful. Do you think this serial entrepreneur that's a sign of risk, or is that a sign of strength? That whether, like for example, the risk being that they might not be able to fit into a structured corporate environment. Do you see that?
No, for me, he's higher. Anybody who is a failed entrepreneur, I would give a lot of points to anybody who's attempted to do something different. This is my personal choice. Might not be I feel that entire process of going through the struggle sometimes, because I have also connected with that. I know it. So I think it teaches you a lot of things. And anybody who's resilient, the most important thing is resilient. In today's work pressure, you can be in any job, but work pressure is part of your process. And an entrepreneur who's failed, I'm sure has tried moved heaven and earth to make it successful. So he or she knows resilience. He knows what it is to come out of failure. These are softer skills which no school will teach you. So I will give a lot of value to that. And for me, higher.
All right. The next scenario, hire or pass, the job hopper, like a candidate who has a history of changing jobs very frequently, one stint not being more than a year. Would you see that as a sign of risk, or is it that they're exploring themselves?
Again, this is very personal to me. I think that's a sign of risk, because while I don't expect people to spend 20 years in the same company, today's days and world are different. Our previous generation, the opportunities were less. Things were different there. Today, skill is a tradable commodity, like I said. So, and every skill, every commodity has a value. One is from a value, purely monetary point of view. One is learning point of view. Sometimes, in few years, you feel that I've reached that point where in this organization, I'm not learning anything more. Please find something else and move on. But if that frequency is very often, then there is a little bit of a question mark. I would feel that, I would be little suspect, and probably I would pass, not hire.
Okay, so that's a pass.
Yes.
The next, hire or pass, the overqualified applicant. So someone who exceeds the job requirements in terms of number of years or just the qualifications. Do you see that as a sign of risk, or is that they are qualified to that strength?
Overqualification is a disqualification, I feel, because sometimes as long as the person is grounded, why the person went through that qualification, which is not, if it is in the line of his work, I would still take it. But if it is not connected, if you are a PhD in botany and you are coming for a recruitment job, I feel you will feel that I have spent 25 years of my life pursuing a particular topic, subject. What am I doing now? So I feel overqualification, unrelated, which is not related to the application that you are applying for, I would pass it.
But if it is related?
If it is related, I would still take it. Though at some point in time you grow, right? And your extra knowledge is always helpful to me. I mean, it will be helpful at that role. It might not be, but within the same line of work, I think even if it is overqualification, I would hire.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's that. This one has a caveat. in
It has a caveat. Yeah.
All right. The next one, hire a pass, a career loyalist. So someone who has stayed in one company for, let's say, 10 years, which is rare, but let's say someone has done that.
No, not rare. You see 10 years.
Yeah. Okay. So do you see that like someone might be too set in their ways if they've like just been in one company throughout their life? Do you see that as something as a weakness?
It's not a weakness, I would say, because see, like I said, I mean, if the organization has grown, you have grown within the organization. I think playing different roles within the same function or in different functions, I think it's still good because he and loyalty is a little niche value today. People at the drop of the hat want to change, but given that you have felt that the organization is valuing me, I think it's a loyalty is good to have in a person, and I wouldn't disqualify that person.
Yeah, and in any which ways, like it is fairly rare for someone to just
It is
persevere.
rare. So if at all you find that, so the other way around also, Amit, it happens where people they are comfortable, they are happy with the money that they're drawing. It's closer to their home or whatsoever. But when they themselves don't grow, then it is a problem for the organization because when people lose that passion or that cutting edge, then productivity comes down. Sometimes companies also look at that angle, right? You are happy, but are we happy that you are there for so long? It as long as the people are growing, I think, and it's productive, I think it's good to go.
Okay, so that's a
That's a hire. That's a hire.
The next one, hire a pass, gap year traveler. So let's say someone who has a significant gap in their resume, and it's not like so it's not something which is
Illegal
nothing illegal, nothing,
Nothing wrong.
and not even let's say medical
Okay.
scenarios. It is let's say they're taken something for a leisure activity, like they're taken it 1 year to travel.
Absolutely higher. In fact, I promote that concept. You see, you should take breaks in your career, try other things, then only you can come back and be more productive. So a lot of women, for example, they take breaks in their career for their child, and we really respect that. We want them to come back and join, and anyone for that matter, unless like you had to serve a 5 years jail sentence, then it's a little questionable. But
Little questionable.
very questionable. Then it is very questionable. But I think if somebody's taken a break to study, to travel, I will hire that person. Once you finish your travel, come back to me. I will hire you. I think that's really a good reason to take that break and required, and I would hire.
Okay, that's higher. So the next one is hire a pass, social media oversharer. So someone who has who has strong political opinions or religious opinions and is not afraid of sharing it on social media, and those are controversial topics which leads to like conflicts within the comment section, etc. as well. But that's their personal life. Do you see that as
No, I feel today everything it's social, right? So it's no more personal because the moment it is out of your on your phones, everybody has access to it. I feel that's a little bit of a risk because though it's very personal, but any controversy means you are extreme in your opinion, right? I'm not saying that having a extreme opinion is wrong, but sometimes that might creep into your work life, because you are so strongly pursuing something or believing in something. Most of your heart and mind and soul is into that, and the equal amount of time and energy is required in your work. So if you are devoted more to a different cause, I'm fine with you doing that, but I just feel that it will be a little difficult for him to put that much of time and energy into the work front. If it is a regular affair, I would probably not hire.
okay? So that's
I
a
would
pass.
That's a pass.
All right, so that's about it. Thank you so much, Mathew. This was great. While we like sort of conclude, we would like to end with like one parting advice you would want to give to job applicants, which people would not expect out of like a HR professional.
Advice to someone
To job
to
applicants.
job applicants from an HR, but not related to HR.
Yeah, but
Okay.
people would not expect that. Okay,
Yeah.
this is you'll be politically
Yeah. So
correct. That's
I think it is connected to the point we just had earlier. So
Yeah.
many candidates feel that if if there is a break and if there is a gap, many candidates feel that I will hide it. In fact, they hide it.
yeah,
They hide
exactly.
it. I as an HR professional, I mean, I feel. We need to take breaks in a career, and anyone has spent that break in a very worthwhile cause, like serving for some social work or traveling. Please flaunt that. Flaunt it. Tell that, because there are a lot of learnings. You learn, you build skills, you build so many value systems in it. Earlier, the concept was you need to have 20 years continuous. If there is a break, people, HR is going to ask why, and they have multiple questions and multiple thoughts around it. I personally believe that if you take a break, people take a break, because careers are there, but like just one life, right? You have to pursue certain things which you truly believe in, and don't be afraid to tell it honestly in front of an HR. And that's my advice to candidates. If you have passions to pursue, take breaks, pursue it, come back, you will always find a job.
So in fact, on the topic of hiding, so like one of my friends, he was out of the job market because of UPSC preparation for around 2 years, and like he was saying, oh, I should hide it. He actually tried to hide it in the resume.
Absolutely not. I mean, this is such a great reason. I mean, he wanted to pursue a higher career. I mean, and you need that time. You need to give that effort. And he was single-mindedly pursuing that. I mean, he should definitely not hide it. He should definitely. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Mathew. This was really, really great. Thank you so much for taking out time for such an insightful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amit. It was a pleasure. Enjoyed your rapid fire questions and the entire interaction. My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Are you struggling to hire talent? At Weekday, we have built a database of 80% of white-collar workforce with their email, phone number, resume, and salary details. And you can send automated email plus WhatsApp plus call sequences to them. Yes, we call candidates on your behalf as well. Because India runs on WhatsApp and calls, we end up getting as high as 40% response rate. Gone are the days of sending a LinkedIn invite and waiting for days for someone to accept. Just use Weekday. Whether you are looking for a database to supercharge the productivity of your recruiters, or you're looking at a complete AI recruiter to do everything for you, we have a solution for you. Visit weekday.works to know more.